We knew this was going to happen at some point. It was always going to happen at some point. The opportunity was going to be taken by Andy Farrell to call up Owen, and it has happened. Lots to discuss on this one. I think this one's going to, well, it already has got a little bit of a reaction in a number of different ways. I think there is some nuance here, which hopefully I will bring on this video. I would love to know your thoughts about Owen Farrell's call up to the British and Irish Lions. I mean, the first thing to say is he gets a lot of stick, but his record should be respected. He's been on the last 3 British and Irish Lions tours in 2013, 17 and 2021. 112 caps for England. He is the second highest point scorer in the history of the sport. He gets a lot of stick. He is a legend of the game and one of the best ever to do it, in my humble opinion. For some reason, a lot of people don't like him. I think he's amazing. But should he be called up for the British and Irish Lions? That could be a very different question. But before I get there, and please let me know your thoughts down below, of course, got to just recognise how sad this is for Elliot Daly, who's had a brilliant tour so far. And, you know, a lot of people, a lot of Lions fans, even a lot of England fans were questioning why Elliot Daly was on the tour. And I think he demonstrated over the last few weeks exactly why. Because he's an elite player. He's still got so much to give. Can play at a very high level in the 13 jersey where he played in previous Lions tours. He can play on the wing where he's played in previous Lions tours. And in this tour, he's shown how good he can be at fullback. And when Keenan and Kinghorn have not played a single minute of rugby yet, Elliot Daly was putting himself right in the shop window to be a test starter and a likely man in the 23 jersey at the very least for the test match series coming up. So you would imagine 4 years from now, Elliot Daly may not be a contender. So that could be a brilliant Lions career over for him. And such a shame for Elliot Daly. So a shame for Elliot Daly. Also, I find this quite funny, Owen Farrell being called up, because some people are losing their minds at the moment. Also, you have to say a penny for the thoughts of Tom Jordan, Blair Murray, Jamie Osborne, Darcy Graham, who were the 4 contenders that could have had that shirt. And do you think one of those guys should be on tour over Owen Farrell? Because as much as I've mentioned Owen Farrell's incredible pedigree, history, legend status as a rugby player, he hasn't played rugby at international level in nearly 2 years. He's played no rugby in 9 weeks. And, I mean, despite what Andy Farrell said in the press conference the other day, when it looked like Elliot Daly was injured following on from the Queensland Reds match, Andy Farrell was asked in the press conference, you're a little worried that you're a bit thin on the ground at fullback. And Andy Farrell's response was, we've got loads of fullbacks. Have you, Andy? You've got Hugo Keenan and Blair Kinghorn, who've not played a single minute on the Lions tour so far. And then you've got some makeshift fullbacks. Marcus Smith, really? And Mac Hansen, really? So I'm not totally convinced by that. However, I can make an argument for Owen Farrell. And let me try and make that argument. Why this isn't a mad move from Andy Farrell and why there's actually some logic in it. For all of the things that I've just said about Owen Farrell's lack of international rugby, lack of rugby full stop over the last couple of months, and he hasn't played that much across the season due to injuries at Racing, which hasn't worked out to be a great move, and he's back at Saracens, but nonetheless. Okay, let me make the case. There is not that much experience in the British and Irish Lions squad. Surprisingly few players have been on previous Lions tours. There's a lot of first-time Lions. And I think experience is massively undervalued by many, many people. And it's huge. And that was one of the key elements for Elliot Daly's selection, I feel. You know, the guy had been on the last 2 tours. He's played in test series matches. And he brings that experience to a backline that actually had very little of it. Yeah, Marcus Smith has been on a Lions tour before. He got called up during the last series, so not really. Finn Russell went on the last tour, but then got injured during it. And other than that, it's only Bundyaki, isn't it? Is that right? Just Bundyaki, I think. So that's not a lot. So Elliot Daly brought that experience into the back line, and you're replacing someone with elite levels of Lions experience with someone with elite levels of Lions experience, which Tom Jordan, Jamie Osborne, Darcy Graham, Blair Murray do not have any of. So that's one case for Owen Farrell. Number two, there are 3 matches left, just 3 games before the first test. Hugo Keenan and Blair Kinghorn haven't played a single minute on tour yet. So I would say it is highly likely that in your 23-man squads for the next 3 games, Hugo Keenan and Blair Kinghorn feature in all of them, mixing up who's on the bench, who's starting to manage the minutes. But I'd say it's probably quite likely that those 2 guys are involved in each of the matchday 23s in the next 3 weeks. And therefore, is another fullback a waste? So, Tom Jordan, Jamie Osborne, Darcy Graham, they're not really fullbacks, first and foremost. They're not really fullbacks. They have played there. But then Marcus Smith has played there. Matt Hansen has played there. So they could be they could have the same utility as Tom Jordan, Jamie Osborne and Darcy Graham at fullback. Blair Murray might have the biggest grievance because he is someone who can play fullback and has played fullback at international level quite a lot, or at least since he started playing with Wales. But I would say Blair Murray, if he came into the squad, would be quite unlikely to play at all. And so if they're unlikely to play, do you really want to drag them out of national team camps where 48 hours right now, 48 hours from test match rugby, they're preparing to play Japan, the New Zealand Maori and Georgia, respectively? Do you really want to drag them out of camp where they're going to play this weekend to bring them into the Lions to not play at all? Whereas Owen Farrell is not in an international camp. If he doesn't play at all, no big deal. Hasn't really affected anyone. But finally, let's war game this situation out a little bit. Could Owen Farrell actually be involved in a test series against Australia? Because if you're going to come in and not play, you're not going to be involved in the test matches. So maybe, and this is, look, I feel sorry for the guys that haven't been picked. And I could see the argument why Owen Farrell shouldn't be picked. I'm trying to just add the nuance. Let's war game this out one a little bit. Elliot Daly was in a position where he could have started at fullback in the test match series, but most likely he would be in the number 23 shirt because he covers 13 wing and fullback to a very high level. So Elliot Daly's role within the Lions squad, within the test series against Australia, is as a utility player. Now Elliot Daly gives Andy Farrell the ability to play a 6-2 split if he wanted to. But most likely, because Andy Farrell tends to have a 5-3 split, you can have every single position in the back line covered. That tends to be how he goes, so there's no risk required. Alex Mitchell and one of the Smiths as fly half backup and scrum half backup. Then who do you put on the bench? Could be Blair Kinghorn in the number 23 jersey. Fine. And then you've almost covered the whole back line. Except, with one exception, what happens if your number 12 goes down? Let me get a little team up. So this isn't what I'm saying will be the team or should be the team. This is just an example team, just saying what could be. Sorry, I'm trying to get that across a little bit. What could be a test match team. There we go. That could be a test match 23. If you put, and I've put Owen Farrell in that 23 for a second, and look, Kinghorn, Keenan, battling it out, whatever. Again, let's not argue about what the 23 is. Just take my point. If you take Owen Farrell out of that 23 and you put in Marcus Smith or Finn Smith, there is a gap there. If Sione Tuipulotu goes off injured, you cannot adequately cover the 12 jersey to a very high level, which would mean you might have to start thinking about, do you go Bundyaki on the bench instead of one of the fly halves? But then you don't have a proper fly half cover. If you took out Owen Farrell and put in Bundyaki there, yes, you're covered at 12. But if Finn Russell goes down, you're going to have to put Blair Kinghorn to fly half, and Yeah, Blake Kinghorn can play fly half, but I would say that's not a great move in a test series. He hasn't played loads of rugby there. He can play there, has played there, but really? So suddenly the Owen Farrell selection doesn't look so mad for a test series, because with him covering 10 and 12, which, yes, that may come back to the argument that Tom Jordan should have been the guy on tour. Totally get it. Then again, to go back to my original point, Tom Jordan has no experience of the British and Irish Lions. Elliot Daly had loads of it. And in that back line, only Finn Russell has been on a Lions tour before in that back line, understands. And yes, all these guys have played international rugby to a very high level. But none of those guys in that back line there have played in a World Cup semi-final or a World Cup final. Owen Farrell has. And try and think about this not as nepotism, and try and think about this try and make the argument in reverse, and I think suddenly the pieces of the jigsaw start to fall together. You have got a guy who, if needed, could potentially be in a match day 23. Look, if Finn Russell's playing really well, in this squad that I've got here, if Finn Russell's playing really well, you're playing for 80 minutes. If Sione Tuipulotu is playing really well and fit and well, you can play him for 80 minutes. But if you have someone to come on with 110,000 people in the MCG and a really, really tight game, Owen Farrell has got the muscle memory of absolutely nailing the job in 2013, 2017, 2021 at the very, very highest level. He's knocked over drop goals in Rugby World Cup semi-finals. He's hit pressure kicks in Rugby World Cup finals. Stuff like that matters. As much as form is important, as much as current fitness levels is important, that can count. My best guess would be that Owen Farrell doesn't feature at all in the Lions series. But if he were needed to appear, if there is one more injury, if one more senior player or utility player is unavailable, then I think it changes the complexion of a potential match day 23. So that's the case for it, whilst I also understand the frustration maybe with it. Let me know what you think. I don't think the love I have for Owen Farrell, which I do, I think the guy's amazing. I don't think that is clouding my judgment, but I know you'll tell me if you think it is. I'll see you on the next one.